Thank you guys for joining us again for another Health Truth Life video. We are moving right along today with our Health Truth Life matrix. We're covering number 16 down here under recovery. It's the last one under recovery. It is resilience.
Resilience.
Yeah.
Man. So, like, resilience meaning in this context for recovery is the overall ability to withstand stress. It's kind of how I think about it. And, you know, we're all, during our lives, you know, and during each and every day, we're either building and maintaining resilience or we're losing resilience. And that comes by what we're doing with our day-to-day activity. So resilience, as in this part, is almost a summative form of all the parts of recovery. And I want to talk about it because it does kind of encompass the essentials that we've kind of discussed before with recovery.
Yeah, to an extent it does. It takes proper sleep, prayer life, and order in order to be and to produce resilience. So I like that. That's good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As I was thinking about this morning, it's interesting because I do feel like, as I just was thinking about what's going on, even just in my own family's life, I have two aunts that have breast cancer. My pops is struggling physically with a lot of issues, deteriorating quickly.
Your pops is your grandfather, right?
Yeah, my grandfather. Yeah, he's in his 90s, in an assisted living home, has some leg wounds that just will not heal. He's been on so many different antibiotics. He's been to the wound center multiple times, and just they're not healing.
Right.
And just to see though, what they're going through, my aunts and my pops, my grandfather, man, we are so resilient at heart. I think God has given each of us, even if, part of it is a learned thing. It's something we can lean into, and through sleep and prayer and order, there are things we do.
Right.
But I think God was so gracious in giving us naturally, some form of resilience. And just to see how, there's so much going on in all of our lives, but we keep pushing, we keep grinding, we keep persevering.
We do. What I want to encourage people today with this discussion is just to provide tools to even continually develop that resilience and maintain it during the times when, the seas are rocky and when everything is kind of in turmoil in your life. Because you have days of wonder and beauty and stress-free and relaxation. But those are sometimes fleeting days, especially depending on certain seasons. But then you also have those days where, hey, your resilience and your ability to withstand the load will be tested. So why not on your days when you've got good things going on, build your resilience. Don't overtax yourself. Don't over-delegate yourself. Don't do too much. I'm speaking to myself when I say this. Please, it's one thing. That's why I truly believe the Sabbath is for man. So that's what Christ said, right? So you think about it. Sabbath is for man, meaning rest is for man. We need rest, So this is about building that resilience towards things.
That's neat too, and I think in taking that time of Sabbath and reflecting, rest and reflecting, because when you look back, it's so neat to me to take the time and look back at what all God has overcome in my life and allowed me to come through.
And what you've gotten through.
What
you made it through.
It's amazing when we get caught up in the busy day-to-day things and we forget, and you look back, you're like, oh my gosh, I have overcome a lot. God has given me strength to overcome a lot of adversity.
Amazing.
So taking the time to rest and then reflect. I like that. And then to know, as you do that, it gives you the courage and the strength and the resilience to push through whatever comes next.
Absolutely.
So we have here, resilience is the ability to withstand the stress of life. It is akin to your energy reserve. And I like that. So explain that a little bit, your energy reserve.
Well, just again, kind of like, and I described the example here of a straw that broke the camel's back. You got to think about that analogy or that thought. How did that happen? How did just a piece of straw break a camel's back? There's no way that a piece of straw is going to do that. Although you and I have had times during our lives where, someone cuts you off in traffic. That's it. I'm done. Or you get a flat tire. Or something else happens and it just rocks your world. It's something small that then though has a huge effect because it's basically a summation of little things that have built up to now teeter-totter over into the fact that, hey, it's ruined your day and kind of broken you down to that point. So my thought again is building resilience and not letting yourself get chipped away by poor habits. And again, those answers to those questions: what am I eating every day, or what am I putting in my mouth? Because that include medications, supplements, herbs, vitamins, food, water, alcohol, caffeine, all those things. What am I allowing in my mind? The resilience of your mindset. You literally shift your body and your physiology by your thoughts. There's no question. And then, what am I doing with my body? Am I sleeping? Am I allowing myself to recover? Am I overtaxing myself with little things that are chipping away at my resilience? If so, stop. And don't live in the identity of brokenness and in disease. Because that goes back to mindset, really. Shifting your thinking, you know. Again, I'm not discounting disease that's out there. Please don't hear what I'm not saying. It is, though, don't live in the identity of disease, though. Don't let that become your identity. That is something
it could easily become a mindset, which leads to a lifestyle.
That then poisons your thinking and poisons your physiology. Guaranteed, not guaranteed. But the point is, you're working against yourself at that point.
Man, the battle's in our mind. It really is, you know. And as you have those thoughts, it's so important to take those to truth, get them into the light, and then what does God say? Who does He say that we are? And you know, we have the strength to overcome, and you know, for sure, He's a resilient God, and He gives us the gift of resilience in our own lives, you know, through Him. I like the example you have here. Your oldest son, Denver, has found what is required in order to build resilience during his high school years as a football player. While nutrition, training, practice, and education all play a role in his development, he has had to focus on sleep, recovery, hydration, physical therapy, and laser light therapy as well in order to optimize his performance. Holistic resilience requires many facets.
And other things, saw an orthopedic surgeon, he got injections for for his knee. We're using all sorts of things for him, but kind of recognizing, and he's allowing himself to go through these things. It's just that there are a lot of facets to resilience, and so I think about a football game that actually he played back in, I think, 10th grade, and he was sick all day. He didn't tell me, he didn't tell anybody at the school. He had been throwing up all day. Didn't eat, didn't drink much, and then went out and played. And it was in JV, 10th grade, and he was playing both sides, and he was throwing up on the sideline over and over. And then he kept going back out there, and no one really noticed that he kept puking on the sideline, except I did. I saw him, but I'm like, I'm gonna leave it up to him. It's kind of like one of those things. He's still out there playing, and then after the game, he cramped up, was severely dehydrated, had to get IVs after. My point is with that, he had just enough resilience to get through the game, which is incredible, and to see his mindset shift of, hey, I've got the training, what I've done before to lead up to this game, and I made it through what I needed to make it through at that point, and then I needed recovery. So I just think about, gosh, in all of our facets of life, whether it's work, whether it's weekend warrior stuff, whether it's your ministry on the side or your volunteering or what have you, we have a certain degree of gas in the tank, and how much we have is all dependent on what we're doing every single day, and let's make sure we have the gas in the tank to get us through the game in a sense. So, and I do want to go over, I know you're probably itching to get over the 4 steps of things. So
there are 4 predominant classes of stress we face to differing degrees, with significant influence based on our lifestyle choices. So the 4 stressors are mental emotional stress, glycemic dysregulation, chronic inflammation, and then sleep and circadian disruption.
Absolutely.
So the first one being the mental emotional stress.
So important to know that mental and emotional stress is, again, what am I thinking? What am I ruminating on? Again, that kind of analogy or that picture of a cow chewing cud, that's rumination. You're ruminating on either positive or negative things every single day. You're chewing the cud every day on thoughts that are literally fueling your body for good or for bad. And so mental and emotional stress with respect to that, there's knowledge and a kind of an awareness out there that our perception of events and your environment is more important than the environment yourself that you're in. And that's like so true that, hey, we could be walking through a storm, but if we know God's got us, I got this, we're working together to get through this, it's going to happen. Mental and emotional stress has been managed to that extent. So that's that first part is really navigating the minefield of the mind. And
you say that in here, guard your mind. You know, we talk about that, your will and your conscience. From it's the wellspring of life. And you know, I love that too, that picture, because you can be like Paul and Silas in prison, you know, and you can still be smiling and singing because you know God's got you, you know, and that's such a great picture. So don't, just because your circumstances aren't what you think they should be or what you want them to be, that doesn't mean you can't have a smile on your face and still see there's good things in life, you know.
Absolutely.
And to practice resilience there from the mental side of it.
And to have a mindset of strength, you know, really, despite how bad you may feel that day, you know, and just being transparent, I got over a little bit of an illness, a cold. It was a man cold.
He did not handle it well.
We know man colds are worse than anything.
He was crying in the office every day.
No, but really, it was kind of like it had my energy down, and
for sure.
It was so interesting just to see that. No, I didn't let it bother me to the point of, hey, I'm still going to be doing my activities, my eating and or exercise or walking, things just to keep my mindset focused on that. And again, but my energy was down. I've been dealing with a number of family members that are sick and a couple that have pneumonia. And there's other patients that have pneumonia. There's a lot of that going on right now. So a lot of people are dealing with illness. And again, when that happens, you do want to guard your thinking, but also guard what you're giving away. You've got to hunker down and almost kind of hibernate during those times. And it's an encouragement to take time for yourself.
That balance of rest, but then get outside too to get some natural sunlight, some vitamin D, and a little bit of movement, but just finding the balance, the right balance of all of it together.
Absolutely.
We'll move on to the glycemic dysregulation. So eating processed, nutrient poor, high sugar foods and low amounts of good protein fat will result in more sugar highs and lows, all of which are seen by the body as a stress, overall lowering resilience to future life challenges.
No question.
Wow. So what we're eating is affecting that.
Insulin resistance and the fact of having blood sugar that's rising and falling a lot or at large amounts during the day, which is oftentimes due to our eating habits, which we've talked about in previous discussions, what we're eating and when we're eating, and the emotions we have during eating, all those play a role, how much we're chewing. When I go specifically back to somewhat with respect to macros or the protein, carbohydrates, and fat, eating more carbohydrates and sugar and less protein oftentimes will lead to more blood sugar swings. So one of the big things that I like to do with patients or encourage individuals is eating more protein earlier in the day oftentimes will have the benefit of lowering the blood sugar swings. And so that's something that certainly can be beneficial. Because the ups and downs of blood sugar lead to actually increases in cortisol and in other stress hormones that the body perceives as a true stress, So getting that blood sugar under control is definitely something that's important.
Okay.
Other tools of that, just sort of kind of hop in, fasting is good with that, whether it's intermittent fasting or even other forms of longer fasting, plus daily steps and daily walking. So 7,500 to 10,000 steps a day, certainly encouraged, whether walking after meals or walking as much as you can during the day.
Sounds like a lot, but it's really not. Like it's not. It's so easy to get that many steps.
Absolutely.
I mean, go on a 20-30 minute walk and you're
getting 4,000 or 5,000 on that. Most likely about 4,000 steps.
The next one, chronic inflammation. So food allergies and sensitivities, chronic areas of inflammation like joints and cardiovascular, gingival, teeth infection, and obesity can all drive HPA dysfunction due to their association with chronically elevated cortisol levels. So that's another big one. A lot of people suffer from chronic inflammation.
Absolutely. So there's people, that live in states of high inflammation, which, as we know, inflammation is directly related to cardiovascular disease as well as neurodegenerative disease. So getting the inflammation down is so important. How do you do that? Well, first, optimizing weight is big. Now, some people can't lose weight very well because they're so inflamed, and that's where really an aggressive lifestyle approach and transition is necessary to try and get that inflammation down. Other forms of autoimmune disease and those types of things can cause and result in significant inflammation as well. So identifying the root cause of that autoimmune disease, which may be gut and oftentimes has a correlation with gut health and or food allergies and or sensitivities, that's important to really track down. So lowering the number of foods that are inflammatory, which would include anything that gets your immune system triggered, which that can be tested for by either elimination diets or food sensitivity testing by various companies can be done to check that out. And those are some tools with respect to that. Of course, getting rid of nightshade vegetables, which are also known to be inflammatory, or your common allergens like dairy, many nuts potentially can be allergic to people, gluten, as well as even corn and eggs for some people can be food sensitivities. And you may not know until you either eliminate them and then reintroduce them or test with food sensitivity testing. So all this is a part of potentials to look into for empowerment.
So moving right along to number 4, sleep and circadian disruption. So proper amount and timing of sleep help to reinforce a consistent daily rhythm, allowing for maintenance of resilience.
So as you know, that sleep is number 1 on this recovery, and cherishing and or protecting sleep, that 8 to 9 hours in a deep, dark environment with deep restorative sleep is so important for maintenance and I would say just a recovery of resilience. If you don't have resilience to develop it and maintain it, sleep is vital. And so abnormal sleep and circadian disruption can lead to and will lead to more stress.
That one seems like an obvious one too. Like when you don't get a good night's sleep, it seems like stress affects you so much more. You're like on edge and you're just stressed easier. And we don't
have lower resilience.
Yeah, exactly. So that one
kind of works together.
Yeah. It's like what you're talking about.
I don't. I'm just I'm literally parroting stuff that we're
No, but that one to me is just an obvious one. So get proper sleep. It's so important. It really is.
Get back to basics. I mean, it's getting back to just basics.
We complicate it a lot. You're right. In order to improve and restore resilience, consider the following. We got some steps here we're going to go over. So the first one is just what we hit on. Protect sleep selfishly and consistently and maintain a relatively consistent schedule. So that's very important. Follow a diurnal activity schedule based on light and dark.
Diurnal just meaning based on light and dark. Optimally, we're active during light and we're resting and sleeping during dark. We understand some people, second shift and third shift workers out there know that it does disrupt your health. There's no question. So either you get 2 options. One is find a daytime non-shift work job. And we do have patients that have done that for health reasons. Number 2, we know that if you can't find a job like that, or you're financially being blessed by doing a second or third shift work, then find an ability to get light exposure every single day. Find an ability to get activity every single day, and make sure that you're scheduling 8 to 9 hours of restorative sleep every day as consistently as possible on a schedule.
We got a great video that we did previously that covers the, if you're not able to get out in the natural sun a lot, there's a lot of other ways to get that light.
Get lit.
Look it up. YouTube, get lit. Another good one we have here is eating nutrient-dense, non-processed food, low in sugar, with enough protein and fat. So important,
Have we talked about that before?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe in a couple other videos, we might have mentioned it once or twice,
So just the point is, nutrition's important.
Yes.
Protein's important for recovery. Very important for recovery.
And then to continue on what you're putting in your mouth is eliminate caffeine dependence and reduce or eliminate alcohol. Another important one.
I think, the dependence of caffeine is tough, and I'll share another thing. I've been drinking 1 cup of coffee for about a month, and it's been a transition because I was drinking 3 cups a day, and I'm only drinking 1 cup in the morning, and I'm sticking to that. And it was an adjustment for a few weeks of just kind of like, hey, I'm not quite as stimulated with respect to, activity or what have you. And it's I had been for, I'd say, gosh, it's probably been decades since I've been drinking more than 2 to 3 cups a day, or 2 to 3 cups a day on average. So I'm working through that. But encouragement for improving sleep and resilience is not to live on caffeine, because you are taxing your hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis when you're doing that. So trying to lower that a little bit over time will probably help. It's an initial shift and change, but then long term should provide benefits. So for me, that's something I'm trying or doing right now.
What's the main benefit? Sleep? Like you're able to...
It's going to be sleep, but also you're not going to be running off of kind of like fuel that's being given to you. You're trying to let your body create the environment from rest to provide you energy, and not get this artificial energy that's actually ramping up cortisol and the stress hormones, and not letting you kind of dial that down. So, and if you're not doing that, or if one's not doing that, it's okay, I get it, but just try to lower the caffeine a little bit. If it's 3 cups, try to go to 2 cups. And if you're drinking at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, try and lower that down to 10 or 11. And if you are drinking caffeine in the afternoon for energy, or a kind of a lag in energy, recognize that you're probably working against yourself a little bit, because the sleep will probably get disrupted later. And one of the ways of shifting that energy wane in the afternoon is eating more protein earlier in the day to help, again, lower those blood sugar swings, so.
Like that. All right, next we're moving on to schedule time for recreation and restorative activity.
Yeah, all work and no play makes me a dull boy. And I tell you what, finding time for fun and recreation is so important, and restorative. It's just, it helps build resilience.
Man, we're coming up on springtime here on the Gulf Coast, and man, I can't wait. It's just a great time of year to get outside, paddleboard, fish, whatever you enjoy doing. Go for hikes, go for a jog in the neighborhood, great time of year. So no excuses, get out there.
That's right.
Remove yourself from toxic environments or powerlessness and neglect.
Wow, nothing makes someone feel dominated like being in a powerless situation, or being dominated and or manipulated by others, particularly if it's people in authority. So I think, providing freedom for you to make decisions to allow for boundaries, but also margin from those environments and people that are toxic to you. Now, to say people are toxic, everyone can be toxic to some extent to other people at certain times. I recognize that, and so you don't fit with everyone else's personality potentially, and they don't fit with yours, and that's okay. But find those people that lift you up, but also provide you with a power in a sense of recognizing your own value, being made in the image of God. And that's where I think that, it's important to recognize that. A lot of people don't. They're in a disconnect with respect to relationships, or even job relationships, that they're powerless and they feel like they're being dominated. That is a stress that then diminishes all of their good hormones, diminishes all of their good neurochemicals. And so, man, that's
it's killer.
Big, right? And again, goes back to it's what you're putting yourself into, and that mindset. So,
and I would encourage everybody out there, if you feel like you're stuck, that's a lie. There is always hope to get out of those. If it's relationships, if it's living situations, if it's jobs, pray, seek God, ask Him for help. You're not stuck. There is a way out, and He will guide you through it. So just know that there's hope. There's always hope.
I love that.
And two, one thing that I actually wrote earlier is, we can't do this alone. Resilience isn't done on your own. You don't muster it up on your own. It takes prayer. It takes connecting with, to me, I wrote this down, connect with the most resilient man that's ever lived. He knows what ultimate strength is in the face of adversity. He knows what it looks like. He's lived it. He overcame death and the grave, and he can do the same in our lives. And, he's helped me overcome many obstacles, many things. Yeah, times when I thought I was drowning, I thought I was toast, and he's helped me overcome them. So, yeah, connect with God, connect with others that are going to be there for you to strengthen you and empower you and lift you up and get you out of these areas where you feel like you have no strength and like you have no hope. Because it's always there. God's always there, and then find people that will build you up and encourage you as well.
Absolutely.
Perform resistance training 3 to 4 times a week, not to exhaustion and with adequate recovery.
Yeah, I think exercise goes back to exercise, activity, some degree of activity. I believe some degree of resistance training helps build resilience.
Do you even lift, bro?
Yeah, exactly. That's another one. You're plugging another video. Yeah, so just the component of it. And I mentioned not to exhaustion. Hey, if you're dealing with stress and or you're feeling depleted, don't be doing CrossFit 5 days a week.
Right.
Please don't do that.
Right.
That's not wise. And I mean that very sensitively. Maybe do that 1 or 2 times a week, but don't go to exhaustion every day.
Right.
You're literally stressing yourself and your physiology to the point where you're unrecovered.
Yeah.
You're risking injury and you're risking chronic mental and physical issues. So, man, find those times to build resilience. It doesn't mean not lifting weights or exercising. I want you to do that, but I want to recognize that many people are burning the candle on both ends. They're working 80 hours a week, and they're doing triathlons or CrossFit or Tough Mudders, and they're teetering on the point of kind of breakdowns. And we've seen some of those patients, and it's just it's important to recognize that recovery and resilience development
at that point you're doing more harm than good.
Can be.
Like you can.
Now, there's no question that high intensity training will build up your ability to withstand that over time. But I'm just encouraging time for recovery to allow for this maintenance of resilience. That's kind of all. So moderation with some of these things.
All right, so we have one more. Strive for complete harmony between your ideals and your life's work and your actions.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
That's an interesting one. Yeah, that you threw that one in there at the end. Strive for complete harmony between your ideals and your life's work. I mean, if you're living with a sense of purpose and living for doing what you believe more than just out there trying to accomplish tasks and to do a job, it's gonna, if you know why you're doing it, I guess too, who you're doing it for, you're more likely to have a more resilient attitude and mindset in life, as opposed to just I've got to grind, do it just to do it,
Yeah, and obviously many times we do things just to do it. And I guess my point with this is that, hey, if you're in a job or an environment or in something that you're doing that's not consistent with your values and or your worldview or what have you, you're probably stressing yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And if you find an avenue that's more congruent with your values and your worldview, then all of a sudden, guess what? You're in a flow. You're going with the flow of the river, in a sense, because we're all swimming upstream with some things, but try and find value to having some degree of, going with the flow, but finding that flow that works for you that may not work for everyone else. And if you're always swimming upstream, that's going to be a chronic stress for you, so looking to incorporate your values into what you're doing every day.
Yeah, your heart and your mind are going to be in it if you're doing it for what you believe in, whereas just doing it for a paycheck or whatever. That's why we have a lot of lifeless people out here working behind counters that you can tell they
or they're working for retirement that may never come, that's unfortunate. So
so I love this was, you ended it with a verse, and it was actually my life verse, my senior verse when I was a senior in high school, one of my favorite verses, but Joshua 1:9, and it says, "Be strong and courageous, do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." And I hit on this earlier, man, like resilience is a God-given thing for all of us, and that especially as you seek Him and look to Him, you're going to be able to overcome any adversity, any trial, because you know that He's with you. And like it says here, yeah, don't be afraid, don't be discouraged. Why? Because He's with you. Not that you have enough strength or you can grind and fight and do it yourself, but you have God Almighty, the creator of all things, with you to guide you, to give you the strength and everything you need. And whew, you're good, you know?
Love it.
I love it too.
It's a great one to end on, certainly, for sure. Thank you guys very much for listening. We appreciate you as always. And Jason, great points. And y'all have a great week. We'll see you next week with another couple videos.
Thank you.
God bless.